Assalamu Alekum, sister. Thank you for writing to our live session. I'm sorry to hear about what's going on in your marriage. You've been married for 7 years, and your husband also has a second wife back home. 5 years ago, he started to become distant and cold, so then his parents wanted him to marry again, another wife. You stated that he was not happy with her, but at the time he started to lose interest in intimacy and romance and affection and care. And you state he's not a bad person, but he's just not interested in you. And right now you're feeling ignored and unloved, which is understandable, right? Because when you get married, especially when you were only married for 2 years, and then your husband appears to have lost interest and doesn't want to be intimate, how else would you feel, right? So, sister, the situation, could be many, reasons. And one of the reasons that struck me is that, possibly your husband is depressed, right? Like you said, it's been 5 years. While depression, if it's not treated, can get worse and worse, and it can last a very long time until it's treated. So it's possible that, maybe your husband is depressed. You did state that he told you things will get better when he is not as stressed, but possibly he meant things will get better when he is not as depressed, right? So that's one issue that could be at the root of his seemingly appearance of being disinterested in you, right? It sounds like he does love you, though. You say that, you go out to dinner, you do things together. It's just that you live as roommates. So it appears that he does enjoy being with you and he loves you, but he's obviously going through a problem that you're not really sure what it is. The other side of this is that maybe he has a medical problem, right? You may want to ask him if he's had a physical, and you may even want to suggest that he has a physical, right? Just to rule out any problems. Maybe he has issues with erectile dysfunction. Maybe he has psychological issues that prevents him, from being able to perform. And he's just too embarrassed to attempt to have intimate relationships, fearing that he will fail. Perhaps, again, there's a medical condition going on like diabetes or high blood pressure that's preventing him from being able to be intimate. There's a lot of different things, sister. And I fully understand that you're taking it personally and you're feeling like there's something wrong with you, but it's not you. It is not you. It's your husband, right? So I know it's hard not to internalize this. I know it's hard not to feel like you're to blame, but you're not. You truly are not. This is your husband's, problem. This is your husband's issue. And inshallah, he'll be willing to resolve it. I know you've talked to him, and he just keeps, kind of putting it off, it sounds like. But sister, I would really, sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk with him. Tell him you want to save the marriage. You do love him, but you have to, marriage does contain intimacy. That's, people get married and they have intimate relationships. That's part of what marriage is for. So just based on that, right? Not having sexual intercourse in marriage can be grounds for divorce, right? But I do encourage you to sit down and talk with him. Just, again, tell him you love him, you want to save the marriage, but you really need a marriage that is, intimate, that includes intimacy and love and caring, right? You may want to ask him if he would be, willing to go for either marital counseling, go in for, a checkup with his doctor just to make sure everything is okay. Just, and inquire maybe about his levels of stress at work or wherever the stress is coming from. And kind of just like, ask him a few questions regarding his inability to be intimate. And just, make it a safe space, right? When you talk with him, make it a safe conversation, a safe space. So hopefully he'll open up. Other than that, you can go for counseling and work through whatever issues you have that are a result of being rejected and feeling unloved for so long. Because that does take a toll on a wife, right? As I'm recalling, it's been about 5 years now that you've been going through this, and you've been feeling sad and depressed and rejected, and that's not a good feeling, sister. And I kindly advise that even if your husband does agree, to get a medical and rule out anything, that could be physical, or discuss his stress and maybe get counseling for that, or disclose any other thing that may be preventing him from being intimate with you. Aside from that, you need to do self-care for you, and you need to take care of you as well. And so if you went for counseling to help deal with your feelings of rejection and help deal with the depression that you're now experiencing, inshallah, that can give you some insight into how to handle things, and also further insight into what maybe you would like to do moving forward. Hopefully, inshallah, your husband will be agreeable and will want to work things out and will want to get to the bottom of why he cannot be intimate with you. But if not, you do have options. One of them is, as separation until he decides to work out his issues, or you can get divorced. Or you could stay in the situation and just choose to live like that, but it doesn't sound like it's a very healthy marriage, and it doesn't sound like it's a good position for you. It sounds rather toxic. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not being like a husband. You don't have a close relationship where you're intimate, and that you feel you can go to him, or you could be hugged, or you could make love, or whatever. You don't have that with him. So it's kind of toxic on several levels. Not to the point where there's a danger, right? The only danger it would be was that you keep getting more and more depressed, and things just keep going on the way they are, and that's not really a healthy way to live, sister. Because your happiness is important too, right? So I kindly suggest that please do, talk to him, sit down with him when things are calm, have a loving conversation, just express to him you would like to save the marriage, and you just want to try every avenue to find out how to resolve this. And also, do some self-care for yourself. You go for counseling for the depression and for the feelings of rejection, because I can imagine it has played a great role on your self-esteem and self-confidence at this point. So that would be, advisable and helpful as well. So in closing, sister, this is not you. This is not, this is really not about you. This is about him and his problems. And what they are, you don't know. And hopefully you will find out, inshallah. But if you don't, you do have options. So we wish you the best, and please let us know how you're doing.